safe. I belong. I am enough. I am love. I am whole. I am strong. I am enough. I am love.
Welcome to the Sovereign Starseeds podcast, using sound as a portal for you to connect with your divine power, awaken your soul's truth, and step into your highest timeline, a safe space for you to feel seen and heard as you awaken and remember. Remembering that you are never alone, that you are divine, remembering that you are the medicine. Welcome to the Sovereign Starseeds podcast. My name is Sasha Starseed. I am over the moon to be here with you today. Podcasts have absolutely changed my life. Specifically, I want to shout out Blue with the Deja Blue podcast. Hearing her podcast helped me to feel a lot less alone in times when I had big life transitions, and reminded me that I belong, that I am seen, and that I have gifts to share right now. So my intention with this podcast is for you to remember your divine power, awaken your soul's truth, and manifest your dream life. Remembering that you are safe, that you are seen, and remembering that you are the medicine. Yay. And I am a holographic sound healer, which means that I use my voice as well as crystal bowls, chimes, Peruvian instruments to allow you to bring your body back into harmony, and for you to connect with your heart, connect with joy and peace and love. Sound healing has changed my life, and it is the portal in which I connect with my higher self. I connect with that wisdom that lives within me and within you. So it feels only fitting to start my first episode with a little sound healing. If you are at home, go ahead and come into a comfortable laying down position with headphones. You can grab a blanket. Maybe you want to put a pillow underneath your knees. If you're driving, then feel free to just listen and receive the vibrations. Wherever you're at, let's go ahead and take a deep breath in through the nose. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. One more just like that. Deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. Bringing your awareness into your breath. Deepening your inhale and your exhale. Feeling the muscles in your jaw relax. The space in between your eyebrows. Feeling your shoulders melt into the mat or the floor. Relaxing your arms. Relaxing your hips and your belly. Relaxing your legs. And your feet. Another deep breath in. Loving breath out. Beginning to visualize Mama Gaia, Pachamama, underneath you. Imagining yourself as a tall tree. Maybe an oak or a willow. Imagine from your feet roots growing down deeper and deeper into the earth, all the way to the core. These roots are grounding you, building your foundation. On your next inhale, imagine pulling beautiful light from the core of the earth through your roots, through your heart and your third eye. As you exhale, letting go of anything that is failing to serve your highest good. It's falling back down into the earth. Inhaling love, grounding, strength from Pachamama. Exhale anything that you are ready to let go of. Offer it up. Now moving through that visual a few more times. As you breathe in, filling up with all the things that you're calling in. As you exhale, what you're letting go of. Imagining a spiral of white light around us in this room, around you, around me, and around both of us. Our angels, our guides, our star family, our ancestors, the land that you're sitting upon, and the spirits of that land. Imagining a golden beam in the middle, traveling up to the heavens and down to the heart chakra of the earth. And bringing your awareness into your heart. As you inhale, love expands in your heart. As you exhale, love surrounds you. Now imagining your heart connected to that golden beam. As you inhale love from source and exhale love. Breathe it in. Send it out. Now imagine your heart connected to my heart, and imagine it connected to all the other star seeds in the world, in the universe. As you inhale our love, and you send out your love. Feeling that love just grow with every breath. Now imagine your crown starts vibrating, becoming very active, and a beautiful white beam shoots out of your crown up into the heavens. Imagine traveling up that white beam, seeing yourself in your room. Seeing your home, your city, zooming out, seeing the state, the country, traveling farther and farther up so that you can see the entire world below you. That white beam still connecting you with your body. You travel up into the heavens. As you travel higher and higher, you look down at your body and see that you are a star. You are made of light and love. You are made of stardust. Seeing yourself shine so bright, your radiance is almost blinding. Looking around and seeing all the other beautiful stars. Knowing that this is your soul's essence. This light, this love. Everything else, let it fall away right here. Connect with that inner love, that inner radiance. Saying thank you to all of your guides, your teachers, your masters. Thank you to Star Family, the Sirians, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, any that you work with. Open to receiving any messages from your star family, from your guides, as you connect with this love, this gratitude in the cosmos. And slowly following that white beam down into the atmosphere of the earth. You start to see the world materialize. You see that white beam, wherever country that you're at, starts to take shape. You see your city, your neighborhood. You see your home, and you travel down back into your body, grounding back in, feeling the support from Star Family above, from Pachamama, from your ancestors, from Mama Gaia below, meeting right in your heart. Taking a deep breath into your heart and a loving breath out.
Kanakaya kara kura kaya kura kaya kia kaya kaya kia kaya kanakaya kura kia kaya kura ki kaya ki kura ki Kayaki Kuraki Kayaki Kuraki. Go ahead and deepen your breath. Imagine your spirit body coming back into your physical body. Beginning to wiggle your fingers on your toes. Good morning stretch, raising your arms above you. Let's seal in this prayer with a single sound of Om together. Let's take a deep breath to clear. Exhale, let it go. Inhale for sound. If you're laying down, feel free to stay there, to keep resting. Just being gentle, being kind with yourself. I love starting with sound. So it really drops me into my body, connects me with my higher self, quiets the noise, the chatter. And especially when I'm singing, I feel the most in flow state than I ever am. And today, I am so honored and excited to share with you a little bit more about me and my story, in hopes that maybe a piece of my story will awaken something within you or activate some part of your soul's truth, remembering that you are the medicine, that you are divine, you are powerful, you are strong. And anything that you admire in someone else, anything that you might admire in me, is also within you. Not to put me on a pedestal, not to put anyone on a pedestal, because we are our own gurus. Growing up, as I mentioned, my name is Sasha. I go by Sasha Starseed. Growing up, I always knew that I was different, that I had a greater mission on this planet, and that caused me some anxiety from a young age. That, along with social conditioning, I was definitely a perfectionist. I always wanted to be the best and get straight A's. And I was born in Akron, Ohio. I grew up my whole life in the same home with two very loving parents, Dawn Lynn and Brian Kowalczyk, and an amazing brother, Tori Kowalczyk. Ohio is it's very humid. So fertile grounds. I lived in a city, so people are like, "Oh, you lived on a farm." No, I lived in a city and in a neighborhood where all of our backyards would come together. So all of the neighbor kids, we would play kick the can and capture the flag. Um, and I had a really beautiful childhood. I loved making potions in the woods behind my neighbor's home. And I loved playing Nancy Drew. I was obsessed with Nancy Drew. I read every single book, I still have them, and would play the video games and wanted to solve the mystery. I've always been very, very highly sensitive, so very attuned, and mysteries were just very exciting to me and worked my brain. I loved figuring things out and noticing details that maybe somebody else wouldn't notice. I loved playing Monopoly and played softball from a very young age. And yeah, I'm so grateful for my upbringing. And I feel like from a young age, society, my parents, myself, I was conditioned to want to be the best, as I mentioned, and to get straight A's. And if I wasn't the best, then I was failing. And that caused me anxiety from a young age. I remember in third grade, I had to leave class a couple times because I had such bad stomach aches from my anxiety. And if I could go back and tell my younger self, and I do this often, I'm like, you are safe. You are perfect just the way you are. You're doing amazing. Have fun. Enjoy. Because I think some of that mentality once I got into school really kind of drove me to just burning out a little bit. Anyway, so I went to a private middle school and high school, and that was interesting. I feel like I identify with myself as spiritual, not religious. I think because I was so inundated with religion, I realized that that's not for me. I find my church is through yoga, through sound healing, through communing with nature, hiking, camping. And so at a younger age, I was kind of shown, oh, well, this is what I don't believe, or this doesn't resonate. And in high school, I was in science fair, I was in student council, I played sports, I worked for the University of Akron as a polymer science researcher under a doctor, and I would go to state science fair. And I won state science fair for a project around self-tying sutures, and I won a biomedical engineering internship in high school, which at the time, that to me was really exciting, and I learned a lot from that internship. And I thought I wanted to go into biomedical engineering in college. And I got into Ohio State. In the honors program, I was so excited. That was like my top school. And I had the first day of orientation as a biomedical engineer, and I was like, ooh, this is not for me. I'm grateful that I had that awareness early on that that wasn't my path. And I went into business. I went into marketing. And in high school, I worked at a store as well, one of the other things that I did. And I loved meeting a boutique. And I loved meeting someone, helping them pick out an outfit that they would just be beaming and so radiant, and feel empowered. So my vision was to own a store one day. And when I was in college, I got a job at Nordstrom Corporate as an assistant buyer. So I did their internship, lived in Seattle, and I loved it. Love Seattle. And I didn't like the job. I actually hated the job. It was all numbers. And my world was kind of crushed because this was at the time, my dream job that I just didn't resonate with anymore once I got into it.
And now I can see how those things gave me direction into my truest alignment. At the time, though, it was like, oh my God, like, this is my dream job and I hate it. Um, and so, with going to school for marketing, I had a vision of owning my own store one day. And so, I got a minor in fashion. And like I said, I had that job at Nordstrom. And then I went to London and I did an internship in London. That was my first time out of the country. And I just remember going to restaurants and parks. I met this man and we went to different clubs, and there was one club that was pulsing to the beat of the music, and I like the walls and ceiling were lights and they were pulsing to the beat of the music, and I just was like so in love. That's when my love for electronic music actually started. My style totally changed. And I'm grateful for the opportunities to travel at a young age. That's really developed who I am. And so I went to London, and so that I did a fashion internship there. And when I got out of college, I, instead of going into a fashion field, because the fashion industry, from my experience, was kind of catty and superficial, I didn't really resonate with the people. I took a job as an assistant buyer for PetSmart, and was an assistant buyer for PetSmart. And that in itself was traumatic, because it take all of the people in that world and put them from the fashion world and put them into a pet company. So that for me was challenging, and honestly, I hated my job. I dreaded going to work every day, and I'm so grateful at this time. I was running the Phoenix Design Thinking Meetup. I had graduated from Ohio State. I moved to Phoenix. That's where I worked for PetSmart. And I was running the Design Thinking Meetup. And at the meetup, I connected with all these amazing entrepreneurs. And my boss was bringing this creativity and innovation camp called Mind Camp from Canada to Arizona. And she asked me if I wanted to support her and volunteer at the camp for like 7 days. And I was so excited, because one of my friends that connected me with the meetup, she had just had incredible experiences at Mind Camp, so many breakthroughs and downloads and incredible people and connections. And Mind Camp, being a part of that camp when I lived in Arizona, was absolutely life-changing. Like I said, it's a 7-day camp, and people would come all over from the world to give presentations and workshops on anything from entrepreneurship to creativity to design thinking, things around the environment. And at Mind Camp, I think this was 2017. I graduated college in 2016. This was probably 2017 or 2018. I experienced my first sound bath. And my sister Izzy, she had gongs and sound bowls and like koshi chimes and a drum, and she was howling at the moon. And it was the most incredible experience that I'd ever had. I had this completely out of body experience where I was looking down at myself. I was having visuals as if I was on psychedelics, but I wasn't. And at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was incredible. I want to learn more about this. I want to learn how to do this. But there's no way I could sing in front of people. And at that time, I didn't sing ever. And I wanted to be a yoga teacher because I had practiced yoga for a long time. I started when I was 16 with my mom at the JCC. We would go to yoga, and throughout high school, I would go to yoga. In college, I went to yoga and especially got deeper when I went through a really bad breakup, which I'll share more about. But there was this fear of being seen and failing. There's a fear of making a mistake in front of people, of not being perfect. And I realize now that my whole life I was crippled by this fear of not being perfect and this fear of losing love. Because when I got good grades, when I won state science fair, when I got the job, I was receiving love and validation. And I think that this is something that in general our society, this is a structure that's in place with how we operate and how productivity is our self-worth. And so I don't blame anyone. I don't blame my parents. I don't blame teachers or mentors. I think this is a greater shift that we're moving through from the patriarchal society of work hard, you have to suffer to succeed, to the matriarchal society where we can invite more ease and grace and flow and joy into the process. And I share with you all the steps to my journey because people see me now and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so embodied. You've been singing forever. You've known what you want to do." There's been a long journey through this. So yeah, at the time I'm like, there's no way I can sing in front of people. And at Mind Camp, I kept just meeting all of these incredible people that were entrepreneurs and super successful. And that planted a seed for me that I can own my own company and do something creative and exciting that I love and support myself. And not only support myself, but thrive. And having space away from my day-to-day life in Phoenix also gave me clarity around being a yoga teacher. And at the time, I in Phoenix, my lifestyle was I worked 9 to 5, and then on the weekends I would go to raves and concerts and had so much fun. And I felt like there was this sadness because I wasn't truly living my purpose and living my dharma. So I had this feeling of like, oh man, I'm supposed to be doing something more. And honestly, that caused a little bit of depression in me. My soul felt like is dying a little bit. And something had to give in order for me to make the commitment to do a yoga training. And Mind Camp kind of gave me that confidence. It gave me that space to say, hey, yeah, maybe you don't go to so many shows so that you can go to the yoga trainings on the weekend. And what is the sacrifice that you want to make for your highest timeline? And that was really helpful. I ended up getting my yoga teacher training in 2018, and that program changed my life. I really stepped into my gifts as a leader and started to break through the fear of being seen and using my voice in front of other people. I remember like the first time I had to demonstrate in front of people, I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And it's amazing how, a lot of us, especially women, we have a lot of fear around using our voice. There's been a lot of repression in the past. And I got my yoga teacher training in 2018. And then I was working at a marketing agency at the time. And then I worked for a tech startup and doing marketing. And I remember this was in 2019, I was at Mind Camp and I just got laid off from my job. And Mind Camp was in Oracle, Arizona. And I had 2 options for other jobs because I was not happy in my current position. So I was interviewing. I had a job as a director of content for a marketing agency in Phoenix, or I had a job as an account manager at Oracle Corporation in Denver. And they would move me out to Denver and cover all of my expenses. And I remember being at Oracle on this beautiful ranch, looking out over the mountains, over this railing, and just having this feeling of like being terrified to leave my life in Phoenix because, I had a bunch of friends and I was steeped in my yoga community and in this music community. I'd been there for almost 3 years at that point. So, but I knew that my soul was calling me to something greater. And people ask me, how did you get where you're at now? And I feel like the greatest thing has been me taking risks and doing things that terrify me. I always say courage isn't the absence of fear, it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Walking with that fear, allowing yourself to feel it, process it, not overly identify it with it. You're not the fear. You feel fear. You are a being of light and love, just like in the meditation, just like the star in the sky, that is you. You feel fear, but reminding yourself what your true nature is. And so I took the job at Oracle, and they moved me. I moved to Denver. When I moved here, I was working my 9 to 5, and then I wanted to teach yoga, but there was a huge block there because I graduated my yoga teacher training. I felt really good, but then I moved cities. So I was like, oh man, now what? Like, I had a whole community, but now I have to build it again to teach yoga, and some excuses come in, and I knew, yes, I need a little time to ground, but then I kind of got back into old patterns. I was going to shows, doing drugs, and that's something that in Phoenix I was doing a lot too. One of my ex-partners, he sold drugs, and in college I went to Ohio State, so I was drinking a lot, and it never became a problem. I feel like I did it recreationally, and I paused when I said that because it wasn't healthy at certain points. So I guess if you want to call that a problem, yeah, you can. In college, I was like binge drinking, Ohio State, going to football games. Even in high school, I would like work really hard and then play really hard. And that's what I thought, a balanced life was like the two really intense extremes. So it started in high school, carried on through college, and then in Phoenix, it definitely deepened, and that started that way in Colorado. I remember I was like going to shows and doing blow, and there was one weekend where I stayed out. We had Monday off, and I went to a show on Saturday, stayed out all day Sunday, went to a show Sunday night, and then ended up like in somebody's apartment after partying with them, and until the next day. And that Monday, I was living by myself in an apartment in Denver, and I go back to my apartment, and it's freezing cold out. It's like President's Day or something, and my car window is bashed in. And I was like so hungover from my weekend and like just super low. That happened. And I look back at the time, I was like, no, I was so sad and like, yeah, really not in a great space. And I look back and I'm like, that was the universe being like, hello, who's in there? Like giving me, kind of creating this drama, creating this uncomfortable circumstance to kind of shake me from my habits or my patterning. And I remember I went and I had to drive in the freezing cold the next day to drop my car off at a car window replacement place. And my Lyft driver that picked me up to take me to work was the most incredible angel ever. And he had crystals everywhere, and he went to Burning Man, and he just got back from Aspen going to this Burning Man party. And I, in that moment, was like, wow, I am always divinely guided and supported. I'm always taken care of. And he was this beacon of hope at a time when I was feeling super low. And I actually was at a show in Denver a couple weeks later, and I was dancing, and I look over, and he's right there. And I'm like, oh my God, Ash, it's so good to see you. And we are now friends, and we still stay connected. I still see him, which is incredible. I feel like sometimes when we are in those low places and the universe is trying to shake things up, there's also these earth angels that come into our field. And so that was kind of like a rock bottom point for me. And, I was doing really well in my job, and I had friends and all this stuff. But so on the outside, it looked like I was living a good life, but I wasn't fulfilled.
I wasn't waking up so excited about being in service to humanity, and luckily I did have a good yoga community. And what really changed everything for me, and I'm sure a lot of you, was COVID, was 2020. During the pandemic, I was living alone and yeah, just having kind of a hard time. I was feeling super disconnected. I was still growing my community. I had only been in Denver like 8 months when the pandemic hit. So I was still really connected with my friends in Phoenix, didn't feel fully grounded in Denver. And I was kind of like drinking, smoking weed, like, but I was just in my apartment, doing yoga in my apartment. And I would go on walks, but it just felt like my whole world was kind of like collapsing down. And as I'm sure many of you, it was a challenging transition. And I was like, okay, I need to do something for my mental and physical and spiritual health. And I went to Taos, New Mexico with a dear sister, with Anna. And we had a ceremony. We had this amazing home with a hot tub on the roof. And we decided to have a mushroom ceremony together. So the night before the ceremony, we drank in the hot tub, and I drank a lot of wine. And when I was in high school and college, I definitely would drink to a point of blacking out pretty regularly. And I was drinking wine with her. We were drinking wine, and I ended up getting kind of mean to her. And I look back and I'm like, this was definitely significant, because sometimes I feel like we need those things come up, especially when we're doing medicine, to show us our patterning and to show us what we're healing. So the next morning we have a talk, and I'm like, she's like, that didn't make me feel good. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I felt genuinely horrible. I feel like there'd be points where I was drinking or using substances, and it wasn't really me. And there's like this, it's like bringing out this side, but it's not always the side that I want to connect with. So Anna and I had this mushroom ceremony, and Anna and I had a mushroom journey where we sat with hape before, which is a shamanic snuff used by different indigenous groups in the Amazon. It grounds you to the earth, and it opens up your channel, and it clears any energy not serving you. So we started with hape, and then we took the medicine, and we went by this river, and I just started crying. I was sobbing, and I received the message to not drink for 5 months and to really clear my system. I was experiencing some gut issues, and I was also processing a breakup that was in 2016, and this was 2020. I feel like I didn't have the tools to process that breakup at that time. Another part of my journey is when I was in high school and college, I was definitely more open to who I sleep with, and felt a lot of like power within my sexuality. And I ended up abandoning myself, or trying to search for love outside of myself with different partners. And I met a man that I fell deeply in love with in college, and we dated for 3 years, and we're going to get married. He, was the first love of my life, and I had never felt that cosmic connection. The first person that I ever did acid with, and he was definitely more grounded and more of an introvert, and so I felt like it was a really nice balance for me at that time when I was in college and kind of like, just a party girl. And I traveled, and ended up, when I was traveling, like when I was in London, Seattle, I cheated on him, and I carried so much guilt and so much shame around that. And while I was in Phoenix for those years, I didn't really have tools and community to know how to process that, and to even really understand what it was that I was carrying.
And so in this mushroom journey, I really grieved that relationship. And it was the start of me loving myself and forgiving myself and healing this deeper wound, not only with him, but of not just searching for validation outside of myself with my achievements, with sex, but really cultivating that love deep from within my soul. And I see this mushroom trip as a crux, a turning point in my journey. That summer in 2020, well, I started teaching after that ceremony. I was teaching online yoga, but then I started teaching more online yoga and around the chakras. So I would do different classes relating to each chakra, and I ended up growing a yoga community. And I'm so proud of myself because my greatest fear was using my voice and being seen. And my friends were like, we need you. We need yoga. We need your gifts. And so I'm grateful for the pandemic to push me to share my gifts and my voice and to hold space for other people to heal, because we both healed together when I was sharing these classes. It was such a beautiful community that we all got to feel seen and heard at a time where everyone was feeling isolated. And then I started doing yoga classes in the park that summer, and those grew. I grew and grew until I was having like 20 plus people at the park, and then that fall, the sound bowls found me. And I actually messaged Vylana Marcus because I saw Aubrey Marcus's wife. I saw that she had sound bowls, and she said that she got her bowls from Dr. Paul Hubbard. Well, he just so happened to be doing a workshop in Boulder, and I got to meet him. I bought my first bowls. This one and this one. These are two of the first bowls I've ever bought. This is a Moldavite root chakra bowl, and I'm Czechoslovakian. Moldavite is an asteroid that hit Czechoslovakia. And when I play this bowl, I imagine I'm channeling my ancestors. And then this bowl is morganite and crystal, and it's the heart chakra, F. Yeah, and the bowls finding me literally changed my entire life. I started using them in yoga, and then that winter, I did my first sound healing training, and it was mostly using the voice, and I didn't know that going into it. So during the training, I was like, oh my God, and I almost like peed my pants. I almost left, to be honest. I was terrified, and as I was doing the training, I was breaking out of my shell more and more, getting more and more confident. I was so scared, but really just allowing myself to feel that and move through it. And it was one of the most life-changing experiences to go from like terrified to then at the end of it singing and doing a sound bath for somebody. And I remember we would practice on each other one-on-one sound healing, and I asked the question, who are my head honcho guardians? And I heard a voice, Isis. And I looked her up, and she is this divine feminine goddess. This is her right here. She's akin to Mother Mary in Egypt. She is the mother of all mothers, the mother of miracles, of healing, of divine feminine power and wisdom, and really just emanates this grace and love and strength. And so I started working with her, started pulling her card deck, and was receiving messages from her. The first card I ever pulled from her deck, she was like, that you're going through an initiation. You are a priestess of Isis. And I'm grateful for the different beings that have come into my journey to support me along the way. And then once I got my sound healing training, I started singing some in my sound baths or in my yoga classes. I was still so scared, but something that totally changed my life was in 2021. In February, I was working my corporate job. I was teaching yoga. I was doing chakra coaching, so empowering people to really heal and to tap into their power and their gifts through the lens of the chakras. And in the winter of 2021, I was invited to do a sound bath for a retreat. And this was my first ever sound bath that I shared with anybody. And during the sound bath, I just felt my crown like blast open, and I was singing and channeling, and I felt so connected to source. I lost all track of time and space, kind of like in that movie Soul, when they're talking about flow state. That's exactly how I felt. And my roommate came up to me after, and he was crying, and he said his mom just died, and the sound bath helped him get through the grief of his mom dying with more grace. And I started crying, and he started crying. And in that moment, I realized this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. And not sit in an office, not work for Oracle. Sound healing, really holding space for people to feel, to process, to tap into their hearts, to love themselves more deeply. And that Tuesday, I quit my corporate job and never looked back. And, woo! Yeah. It was also the scariest thing I've ever done. Taking that leap and leaving behind security, safety, everything that society tells us is successful, was terrifying. And I would absolutely never take it back. Right after that, I sat with ayahuasca with a woman that I met in my sound healing training. And I moved homes. I moved into like a Burning Man home with other artists and creatives. So that was a wild journey. That was in 2021. And then that summer, everything changed. I met a partner when I was doing sound healing. I traveled to Costa Rica and went to this immersion, and I got invited to do sound healing in Peru, which was a dream come true. Because really, when I did that first sound bath, then I started doing sound baths every month and started building partnerships with people, different nonprofits and local organizations where they wanted me to do sound healing once a month. And I was doing sound healing at yoga studios. It was like once I said yes, once I leaned into the fear, once I fully committed and quit my job, the whole universe opened up for me. And so it was only 6 months later that I got invited to do sound healing in Peru at this retreat. That absolutely changed my life. And I got to sit with ayahuasca. And this is how my name got birthed even more. I was in ceremony, and we were at this gorgeous retreat center. Peru in general is just incredible. The most amazing mountains that are majestic, and so it's like they give this beautiful divine masculine energy, but you feel so at peace. And just imagine like beautiful rolling hills, the most vibrant people that are so loving and kind, incredible food. The retreat center we were at had all these bridges over water, and the maloka that we sat in, which is the structure where you sit with medicine, it had a glass ceiling so we could see the stars, and there was a fire inside. And as we were working with the medicine, it was the second night, and no, this was the first night actually. Oh yeah, it was my golden birthday. So I turned 28 on August 28th, and that was the first night of our ceremony. And on my birthday, a prostitute from my lineage came through, and she showed me that I had carried that energy my entire life, in this lifetime and in past lifetimes. And I was able for the first time ever to look in the mirror and say, I love you, Sasha. I forgive you for every man you've slept with, for every mistake you've made, for cheating on your past partner. It's all led you to be this woman that you are right here. And in that moment, I felt true unconditional love.
the first time ever. And after I shared, the shaman invited me to share sound healing in ceremony. And I played my sacral chakra bowl, which is related to sexuality, creativity, your emotions. And as I was playing, these two beautiful star beings came over me, a man and a woman, with a DNA spiral from them into me with musical notes out my throat. And they said, "Your voice is the most powerful tool. We're working through you. Keep using it." And that's how I received the name Sasha Starseed. Connected with the Syrians, with the Pleiadians, with the Ehonians, the Arcturians. Those specifically felt Pleiadian and Syrian. And I'm so grateful for their love and their guidance, empowering me to continue stepping into my gifts and serving and being a mirror for others to step into their gifts. And after that ceremony, my life drastically changed once again. And I see this pattern in my life. Taking risks has incredibly changed my circumstances with trusting, and well, sometimes I didn't trust, but I subconsciously trusted, but there's moments of like freaking out, like moving to Denver, quitting my job, and then plant medicine, the mushroom ceremony, ayahuasca. That fall, I was wanting to move into a mountain home and calling in the perfect alignment. And I was invited to do sound healing for a men's retreat for a mushroom ceremony. And I had never done sound healing for a mushroom ceremony before. And I was a little nervous. I was very nervous. And the woman that I was with was a professional musician. And I'm like, they don't need me. Like, she can do everything on her own. I was very in my head, very self-doubting, very like, meh, woe is me. And when we went into the ceremony, she took too many mushrooms and was on the ground crying. And I led the whole ceremony for like an hour and a half with 18 men and singing and playing my bowls. And it was so powerful. And the medicine was like, anytime that you doubt yourself, you can be serving. You have gifts to share right now. Don't doubt yourself. Keep serving, keep sharing, keep shining. And that message really has stuck with me, because that was a constant theme in my life of not feeling worthy, not feeling enough, judging myself very harshly. And so much so that in my Sound Healing Academy, I share with the women that don't critique yourself the night of the ceremony. My invitation is to provide feedback after, because just get to be in it and enjoy it. And for me, that's been helpful of like, what am I proud of? What am I celebrating? Instead of immediately going to the thing that needs to be changed. So hopefully that resonates with you. But at that ceremony, that was when the seed was planted for me to serve mushrooms and to work with the medicine. And I joined a higher self-embodiment program with Zahara. And I'm so grateful for her. She was such a powerful teacher and helped me to heal some of that self-worth and the lack of confidence and trust and belief in myself, and more fully step into my power to be able to be a clear channel to serve sound, medicine, and other things. And at that retreat, the woman who was the musician, she was moving out of her home. And she's like, yeah, I think you would really love my room. It's in the mountains. It's gorgeous. And she let me borrow her car because mine was in the shop and she was going to Hawaii. And when I brought her car back to this home, I knock on the door, and this couple that I met in Costa Rica was at the door. And I love them. We really connected when I was in Costa Rica. And I ended up moving into this home with them, into my dream home in the mountains
I'm literally looking outside right now at trees and mountains, and I have hiking trails outside of my door, and I have all this room to do sound healing. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to have this space that holds me. And this was another risk, that a leap of faith that I took, because I pay like 3 times more here than I did in my other place. And really had to trust that when I follow my highest alignment and I'm living in a space where I feel beauty and joy and magic, that reflects to my inner world and creates more abundance, and trusting that flow of what I'm giving out I'll also receive tenfold. And so I'm really grateful to live here and to be able to share this transmission from my home. I moved into here in January, and in ayahuasca, I also received the transmission to create women's groups. So I started doing Starseed sisterhood groups to connect as women, and to really feel safe to fully be ourselves and to share what we're moving through, to share our challenges, our joys, and really just witness each other. And I started doing that, and then I created a women's group program in the spring, to have a safe space for us to heal with plant medicine, work with mushrooms, and for us to kind of dive into our shadow. And I just love guiding women, and I see how all of the things that I've moved through, now I get to help others to remember. And I needed to go through all of these initiations around self-worth and judgment and perfectionism, all of these things, to then, and going into my shadow, to then bring it to the light and be a beacon for others to come into the light. Yeah. And so this is just a reminder that wherever you're at, you have gifts to share right now in your journey. And you don't need another training or certification. There's something in you that wants to be expressed, wants to be shared. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of what people think. It's okay if someone doesn't like you. If you're for everyone, you're for no one. And honoring your own soul's truth and taking those risks, having courage. I'm so grateful that, I have the ability to share sound healing and to share these practices that have changed my life, to work with mushrooms. I'm actually leading a retreat in Peru this summer, with ayahuasca and combo and sound healing and yoga. We're going to Machu Picchu to be this bridge, this rainbow bridge from America to the different indigenous peoples in Peru, and to provide a safe container for people to heal in the same ways that I was able to heal with the medicine. So once again, it's another way of how something that has impacted me, now I get to share and to grow that light. And so there's something within you that wants to be shared, that wants to be expressed, that wants to be said, that the ripple goes farther than you can even imagine. And then over the course of this summer, I was able to travel to Sedona and do a retreat in Sedona. I created my Starseed Sound Healing Academy, so now I get to share sound healing with others and empower them to use their voice to create ceremonies for people to relax and release what's failing to serve their highest, and to plant seeds of love, really creating the frequency of heaven on earth. And it's my greatest honor to share the Sound Healing Academy, and to not only, because it's not just about me sharing this, it's about others activating and sharing in their communities and the ripple that has. We're starting another round on March 21st, and I would absolutely love for you to be there. If it's in an alignment, it's all online except for a 4-day in-person immersion at the end. We actually have someone coming from Australia. I'm so excited. So wherever you're at in the world, this is an invitation for you to step into your gifts, to use your voice, and to build a thriving sound healing business where you love what you do every single day.
yeah, and this past 6 months, I've been on a really big shadow work journey. Um, I went to Egypt on a Sekhmet tour, which I want to share a whole episode on that. I just got back. That was in October. And it was one of the most triggering and one of the most beautiful trips of my life, and really invited me to have more acceptance and unconditional love for myself and others. I realized that there was some spiritual egoism happening because I'm in Boulder, I have all these conscious friends and, go to ecstatic dance, and I'm very steeped in conscious community, and I'm no better nor worse than anyone. Just because I'm on a spiritual path doesn't make me better. And it reminds me of Jesus, of how he gave unconditional love to everyone that he came across. It's important for us to, as people on this path, as you are on this path, to not judge others for not being there, because wherever you're at is perfect. And also not listening to my story and comparing where I'm at to where you are if you're not where you want to be, using this as inspiration that you can get there too. If I can get here, you can get here too. And that was another thing that came up around jealousy, and how do we alchemize that into inspiration. Like I said, I'll go through my whole Egypt trip, but the final thing I want to share is that when I got back from Egypt, I went home for the holidays for Thanksgiving to my family in Ohio. And to give you some background, after my first ayahuasca trip, I wanted to go home and share sound healing with them from a space of wanting to fix or change. And after my second ceremony in Peru, I realized that the most loving thing, the most healing thing I can do is come from unconditional love for myself, for them, truly accepting them where they're at and meeting them where they're at and being grateful for the love that they do give me, not what they don't give me. And once I was able to fully come into that embodiment, when I was home, my family asked me to do a sound bath for them, which was such a gift. And I'm so grateful that I got to share the practices that have changed my life with my family. And I believe it's because I was coming from this space of love instead of like wanting to control or force or change. And I shared this because, and I will go into more details about like the mother wound and different things around family and relationships in future episodes. But I feel that want to control, and not only within your own life, but within other people's life, that attachment to the expectation is the root of all suffering. And if we can let go of that attachment to the expectation of what we think someone should be or how we think we should be, then we can fully surrender to the bliss and the joy of what is in this present moment. So how can you let go a little bit and be grateful for what you do have and all the blessings that you do have? And that's not to say boundaries are important, and if there's toxic behavior, there's a lot of caveats to this, but generally I just notice myself being just as hard on my parents as I am on me. So it really starts with us. How can you love yourself more? How can you be more kind and more graceful? What are you proud of? What are you grateful for? I'm so honored to share my story with you. I'm so excited to continue on this journey. I'm bringing on some incredible guests. We'll be talking about star seeds and plant medicine and the chakras, family dynamics, the mother wound, the sister wound, all of it. There's so much juiciness. This is just the beginning. Thank you for being on this ride with me. Thank you for sharing your voice, for sharing your gifts, for loving yourself unconditionally, for remembering that you are powerful, you are strong, you are divine, you are the medicine. Thank you. I love you. Go ahead and take a deep breath into your heart, filling up with this love. Exhale, send it out to someone.
May the love and the light that we cultivate here with this podcast, may it ripple throughout our entire bodies. May it ripple throughout our cities, throughout our countries, to all of our friends and our family. May it ripple throughout the entire world, to anyone who is suffering or in need. May this love, this light, this remembrance ripple throughout the entire cosmos. May the work that we do here benefit each and every sentient being. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you resonated with this podcast, please share with your friends and your family. If you want more, my Instagram is sasha.starseed. My website is www.sashastarseed.com. If you're interested in becoming a sound healer, my next Starseed Sound Academy starts on March 21st. My Peru retreat next summer with ayahuasca and yoga and Machu Picchu sacred land activations is June 9th through the 17th. I also have a free sound bath offering coming up, so I'm really excited to share with you. I love you and have a beautiful day. May the love and the light that we cultivate here with this podcast, may it ripple throughout our entire bodies. May it ripple throughout our cities, throughout our countries, to all of our friends and our family. May it ripple throughout the entire world, to anyone who is suffering or in need. May this love, this light, this remembrance ripple throughout the entire cosmos. May the work that we do here benefit each and every sentient being. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you resonated with this podcast, please share with your friends and your family. If you want more, my Instagram is sasha.starseed. My website is www.sashastarseed.com. If you're interested in becoming a sound healer, my next Starseed Sound Academy starts on March 21st. My Peru retreat next summer with ayahuasca and yoga and Machu Picchu sacred land activations is June 9th through the 17th. I love you and have a beautiful day. I am safe. I belong. I am enough. I am love. I am whole. I am strong. I am enough. I am love. 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 I am